Right. So moving on, I want to talk about the bitwise XOR function. That's a basic component of many complex ciphers. It's a binary operation on bits. It's the logical exclusive OR operation on each pair of bits. So the result is 1 if the bits are different and 0 otherwise. And it's often used in cryptography because it's computationally inexpensive. It's one of the reasons why it's often used. There's a table down here that shows you how XOR works. So if you have 2 bits and if they're the same, so if they're both 0 or both 1, then the XOR of those 2 bits will be 0. If they're different, then the XOR will be 1. If you have 2 longer bit strings and you want to XOR them together, then you just do it bit by bit. So you take the first 2 zeros, they give a 0, the 1 and the 0 gives a 1, 1, 1 gives a 0, 0, 1 gives a 1. If you have numbers written in decimal notation, for example, you want to XOR them together, then first you have to convert them into binary, and then you XOR them together, as I explained before. And if you then want to, you can convert it into decimal notation if you so please. You might. I hope you can convince yourself that if I take any string and I XOR it with the string that's all zeros, then I will get the original strings. Like XORing with 0 changes nothing, because 0 XOR 0 is 0 and 1 XOR 0 is 1. So everything stays the same when you XOR with 0. I hope you can also convince yourself that if I have 2 strings that are the same and I XOR them together, then all the 1s will meet and all the 0s will meet. So I get just the 0 string. I hope you can also convince yourself that if I have 2 strings and I XOR them together, it doesn't matter in which order I XOR them together. So it doesn't matter if it's 1 0 or 0 1, like the order is the result is the same. So I gave you some rules, and these rules mount up to something that we can use. So if I have a string and I XOR it with another string, and then I XOR it back with the first string, then first of all, hi. Sorry, I'm just borrowing your office.
Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't blow the line.
So anyway, moving on. So the idea is if I have 2 strings and I XOR them together, then XOR with the first string again, then first I can swap around the last 2 ones. So I can say that this is equal to this. That's by this rule here. And then A XOR A, well, that's just 0. So this is equal to this. And 0 XOR B, well, that's just B by this rule. And I say that this is interesting, and that's of course not completely clear. And the reason why this is interesting is because we can use it for encryption. So how do we use this for encryption? Well, we can build something called a simple XOR cipher, where here encryption, the way that you encrypt a message is that you choose a key and then you just encrypt by XORing with the key, and that gives you the ciphertext. And the other direction, if you want to decrypt, well, then you just XOR with the key again. And then, and that gives you back the message. Because then what you've basically done is you've taken the message and you've XORed with the key, and that gives you the ciphertext. And then if you XOR with the key again, then the 2 keys cancel out and you just get back to the message. So here, like encryption and decryption are actually the same function. The key needs to be the same length as the message, or it can be repeated. So for example, here, if I have this as my message and I have this as my key, then the ciphertext is just the bitwise XOR of the key and the message, and then I need to repeat the key in order to encrypt the entire ciphertext. So this is the XOR cipher. Yeah. So I think to just practice all these things, I think you should give this a go. You should try to convert back and forth to ASCII. You should try to do this XOR operation. I will play some music while you pause the video, and then we'll meet up again. All right, assuming that that this went well, it usually does. It usually goes well, but yeah, I don't know what can you actually do if you have any questions. You can come to the cryptography session, the next teaching, and I will answer questions there, I guess, if you watch this in between. Otherwise, I guess email the organizers and see if they can forward mail to me, and I can answer. Or I guess, I mean, really, like the easiest thing might be to like just Google or like search, or like, or if Google doesn't help you, like ask a question on Stack Overflow or something like that. Right. So yeah, okay. So we talked about this XOR cipher, and so far we've only been talking about outdated ciphers that are not used in practice anymore. And this is the first time you will meet a cipher that's actually used, and that's the one-time pad. And the one-time pad is just the XOR cipher where the key length is equal to the message length, and each key is never used twice. You can only use each key once. And the drawback of this cipher is, of course, that you need many and you need long keys, and that gives some issues with key sharing and protection, of course. But the plus, what you get for all this trouble, is that this cipher is theoretically unbreakable. Like it's impossible for someone to know anything about the message that you encrypted, given just the ciphertext. So let's just take an example. You have this message, you have the key that's the same length, and then the encryption is the ciphertext. So if you use this scheme carefully and you choose your key uniformly at random every time, then the person who receives just the ciphertext can say nothing about the message, because each key bit could be equally well a 0 or 1. So each message bit could be a 0 or 1. In fact, like any message of this length could be encrypted to the ciphertext. You just need to choose the correct key. So like this, just given the ciphertext, there's nothing you can say about the message at all. And that's quite spectacular. This is the only cryptographic cipher that has this this property. The only one that I know of, at least. There might be others, but like this is a standard one to mention, at least. And this means that the cipher is actually used in real life for at least I've heard about it being used for spies in foreign countries. So then before these spies go abroad, they'll like have these super long keys. They'll have them like rolled up into like little paper rolls and like maybe put into like their cigarettes or something like that. And then whenever they need to send a message home, like they'll, use they'll use the key from the beginning. And then, and then when they finish the message, like make a little mark, oh, this is where I got to, and then, continue using. So next time they send a message, they can continue using the key, and then that way they never reuse the same part of the key. Yeah, this is of course impractical, but if you really want to be pedantic about your security, this is the only way. Right. So of course it's not very efficient, right? Because you need to share these long keys. So what you can use, how you can use these XOR ciphers in a more practical way is you can use them for stream ciphers. So here, stream ciphers, they work well if message is a data stream and the key matches its length. So imagine like you're watching a video on YouTube or on Netflix, then your computer is constantly receiving information. So it's receiving it in this constant stream. So you need a function. So message keeps adding on, key bits keep adding on. So we need a function to keep generating key bits with no pattern. So we need what's called a pseudo random number generator. So that's a function that generates numbers that look random. Say that this is the message, then this is the key, and the key you can generate as long as a key as you want with the pseudo random number generator. Then this down here is the ciphertext. So the idea is here that a pseudo random number generator needs a seed, an input, and once you know the seed, then the function is deterministic. It will always produce the same. So if two parties want to encrypt using this cipher, then they share the seed. So because then both of them know where to start their pseudo random number generator from, and then they can both generate this infinitely long key on the go, right? And then one end uses this key to encrypt, and the other end uses it to decrypt. And of course, the challenge then becomes to create functions that truly do look random. Yeah, and on the practical side, I guess like stream ciphers are the most used in terms of amount of data encrypted. All data between Wi-Fi router and device and YouTube videos are encrypted this way. Okay, so the final topic of today, let's make that into another video.